British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced he will resign. Ian Lee joins us from London with the details.
And I want you to know how sad I am to be giving up the best job in the world. But them's the breaks.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is stepping down as Conservative Party leader.
I've agreed with Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of our backbench MPs, that the process of choosing that new leader should begin now. And the timetable will be announced next week. And I've today appointed a cabinet to serve, as I will, until a new leader is in place.
Johnson took over in 2019 after Theresa May resigned, riding a wave of support following the Brexit vote.
We are going to unite this amazing country.
But this week, dozens of members of Johnson's government resigned amid a buildup of scandals, with many telling him it was time to go.
Today, I ask him to do the honourable thing, to put the interests of the nation before his own interests.
Johnson had rejected those calls up until the very end.
Frankly, Mr. Speaker, the job of a Prime Minister in difficult circumstances when he's been handed a colossal mandate is to keep going, and that's what I'm going to do.
Johnson came under fire after appointing Chris Pincher to a high government role. The Prime Minister said he forgot about sexual assault allegations against Pincher from 2019. It comes after Johnson and members of his administration faced criticism for violating COVID lockdown rules and held parties, a scandal nicknamed Partygate.
Now, Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab would take over as interim Prime Minister if Johnson steps down immediately. Well, meantime, it's been 1 year since President Jovenel Moïse of Haiti was assassinated on July 7th of 2021. Moïse was killed during an attack on his home in Port-au-Prince, according to the country's acting Prime Minister, Claude Joseph. After a months-long investigation, law enforcement officials have still not determined who ordered the hit on Moïse. Haitian judicial sources say about severe irregularities occurring throughout the investigation into Moïse's killing. But 3 suspects who the U.S. Justice Department alleged planned the assassination on U.S. soil are currently on trial in federal court in Miami. Well, switching gears now, there's a new style of home that's been added to the real estate industry in Puerto Rico to help with the high cost of the housing market. Our Francis Felix reports.
In recent months, the prices in the real estate market in Puerto Rico has increased. Keeping that in mind, a Puerto Rican company offers a safe, affordable, and sustainable housing option. Zero Damage Company began this year manufacturing cyclone and earthquake-resistant steel frame homes that ship ready to install on lots or patios, starting at $32,200 plus tax. The first model is Casa Bohío, a 340 usable 100 square foot tiny house.
We try to take advantage of the opportunity of the Airbnb market in Puerto Rico and the growth of that market. So we figure out that if we build or fabricate some structure that can be sold as an Airbnb unit, it will be advantageous for the company. Casa Bohío is this prefabricated and modular unit in the United States considered a manufactured home. It's 340 square feet, and the base price is $32,200, and it includes a kitchenette, a bathroom, a bedroom for a queen bed, also a roof terrace, and 30 square foot of storage area. All the finishes, electrical infrastructure and plumbing infrastructure. We even include the lighting fixtures. Any extras they want, well, we charge just for the extra. All the structure is made of structural steel and galvanized steel. And for the architectural finishes in the exterior, we use treated lumber, treated wood. In the interior, we use gypsum board and finishes of vinyl for the flooring.
The first unit was installed on the premises of his company in Isabela. The architect pointed out that this compact model is approached as a prototype in continuous improvement.
This is basically a prototype that we built. Not just is a prototype that, for the showroom, but it's a prototype of the business model. It's a prototype of the architectural structure. We are trying to figure out how to lower our cost and lower the price of the unit, and even build larger units for more people, for a larger market segment that is actively looking for affordable housing in Puerto Rico and even the Caribbean. They can reach us at our website, cerodam.com, or our social media, Facebook, Twitter.
For the architect, the cost of this first model of tiny houses represents an advantage for a home buyer, and also the flexibility to make upgrades. Reporting from Isabela, Puerto Rico, Frances Felix.
All right, thank you so much, Francis. Well, meantime, now to the travel industry. United Airlines is sounding the alarm, telling its staff there are more summer flights than air traffic controllers can handle, and that issue will contribute to more flight disruptions this summer. United's chief operating officer voiced his frustration in a memo to staff, saying until there are more air traffic controllers, they can expect the U.S. aviation system to remain challenged this summer. He noted the situation is particularly bad in New York and in Florida. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg met with the heads of airlines last month and said Tuesday that he disagrees. Buttigieg says air traffic control staffing is not to blame for most delays and cancellations this summer. He says there are other issues at play, like airlines pushing pilots into early retirement. Well, meantime, for visitors to the Turks and Caicos, the mandate still stands, requiring full vaccination against COVID-19, a mandate many are calling to be lifted. So our One Caribbean News' Deandra Hamilton did some digging to find out what leaders plan to do about the restrictive COVID measure in order to enter the islands.
As Americans celebrated independence in the Bahamas, and despite some events which marred the day in their home country, Turks and Caicos Minister of Health was suggesting that soon doors for Americans and other visitors to the TCI would be opening more widely. Health Minister Jamel Robinson was speaking to upgrades and access to health care across the islands in a press conference recently when he responded to our question on whether there was an end in sight on the need to be fully vaccinated for COVID-19 in order to enter the Turks and Caicos.
Would add some layer of protection outside of the testing, because we, I guess, chose that over just the testing really, in terms of keeping just some semblance of protection. But I can't say I'm sure when it'll end, but sooner rather than later.
The need for negative COVID tests ended on April 31st for TCI, and over the July 4th holiday weekend, the country catered to some 10,600 air travelers, according to the Turks and Caicos Islands Airports Authority. Many believe visitor arrivals would climb even more with the mandate gone. Work permit holders, however, may be less likely to see the fully vaxxed rule in the TCI removed. Established that, a work permit holder should be fully vaccinated.
Correct.
Are we still doing that? That's still in
Yes,
force?
we're still doing that.
Okay. And another signal the COVID era is fading. The Cuban Medical Brigade is coming to an end of its service in the Turks and Caicos.
We have had the Cuban Brigade now for 2 years, encompassing about 10 nurses and 5 physicians. And on behalf of myself and the management of Turks and Caicos Islands Hospital, I'd first like to thank the Turks and Caicos Islands government for funding those positions for us, and also the Cuban Brigade for their support.
DeAndre Hamilton reporting.